Hey everyone! Welcome back! I'm super thrilled because today, in this tutorial, we're going to create a super cool and attractive website. Let's take a look at the website we're going to build together. At the very top, there's a menu bar. When you move your mouse over the links, a smooth line appears under them. Now, in the Hero section, you'll see a warm greeting that says, "Hello, I am Ian Khan." Right below that, there's a big title showing our skills: web development, designing, and marketing. We've also added two buttons, one for downloading the CV and the other to get in touch with us. These buttons have a cool hover effect and look great with a slight shadow. As you scroll down, you'll find logos that represent our skills. It's like a visual way of showing what we're good at. But the most exciting part? It's the moving picture on the right. Watch its border smoothly change over time, giving it a cool effect. Now, let's move to the About section. Here, there's a picture on the left with a special effect. On the right side, there's some writing, and below that, there are bars that show how skilled we are in different areas. Next up, the portfolio. This is where we showcase our past work. Hover over the pictures and you'll see text and a purple color smoothly appear from the left. Time for the Services section. This is where we show the things we can do for others. It looks awesome too, with pictures and text. When you hover over them, they get a bit bigger and change color. It's like magic. Now, the Contact Me part. This is where people can reach out to us for work. At the very bottom, there's a small footer. On the left, there's a copyright message. In the middle, you'll find social media icons that change color when you hover. On the right, there are links that also appear at the top of the website. You can use these links to jump to different parts of the website. And here's the coolest part: this website shines on every kind of device. Let's do a little test by making the screen smaller. And guess what? Everything still works perfectly. The menu bar transforms, and a cute hamburger icon pops up. Give it a tap, and a menu slides down from the top. Tap again, and the cross icon makes the menu disappear. The Hero section is just right for small screens. And don't worry, the About section looks great too. Moving on, the Projects section is super responsive. Services? You bet they adapt smoothly too. Lastly, the Contact Us section and the footer are all set for whatever size screen you've got. Kudos to this awesome eye-catching website. Let's get started with creating this responsive animated website. I have an Images folder containing various types of images that we will use on our site. Let's step back and open this folder using the VS Code editor. Within the folder, we will create two files: an HTML file named index.html and a CSS file named style.css. Next, let's open the HTML document and use an exclamation sign to quickly generate the starter code. Alright, inside the head tag, include a link tag that references the CSS file named style.css. This will effectively link our CSS to the HTML document. Let's modify the title of the website to Portfolio Website using HTML and CSS. Let's open the website using Live Server. Currently, our site is empty with no content. First of all, we'll add Font Awesome Icons link to our website. Go to Google and search for the Font Awesome CDN link. Click on this website. Copy the first link they provide. Now, return to your HTML file and find the head section. Add a link tag here and paste the copied Font Awesome link. This will allow us to use icons on our website. Next, let's add 2 Google fonts to our website. We'll use the one font for large headings and the second font for smaller text in our website. Go to Google and search for Google Fonts. Open this first website and search for Poppins font. Poppins is a widely used and popular font among developers. Click on it and select the styles and sizes you want for your text. Copy the code you can see here. Now, in your CSS file, paste the copied code. Next, go back to the Google Fonts site and search for Mulish font. Do the same process, select the styles and sizes, and copy the code. Paste the Mulish font code in your CSS file as well. We'll use the Poppins font for headings and the Mulish font for smaller text throughout our website. Come back to HTML. Let's make a header. Start by adding a div element with the class name container to create a section for our header. Inside the container div, create another div element with the class name Navbar to hold the navigation elements. Within the Navbar div, add a new div element with the class name logo. You can write your name here, example Aryan Khan, or use an image as your logo. Next, include a nav element with the class name write nav to define the navigation section. Inside the nav element, add an unordered list element with the class name nav links to create a list for our navigation links. Within the all element, add a li element to represent each navigation link. Inside li, take an anchor tag with the text home for the first link. Duplicate this line 4 times, changing the text and ref attribute to create links for about, portfolio, services, and contact. Open your CSS file. Reset all element margins and paddings to 0 using the asterisk selector and set the box sizing property to border box. Apply the Poppins font to all elements. This will give a consistent look and remove default spacing. Now, let's make variables for all the colors used throughout the website. To create a variable in CSS, use the root word with a colon. For example, BG color for a dark black color, and BG light for a light black color. Create a variable named text color to store the color value for headings. Create another variable named paracolor to store the color value for paragraph text. Now, let's create 3 shades of purple by defining variables like main color for the main shade, light color for a lighter shade, and extra light color for the lightest shade. Remember, it's best to use fewer colors for a clean and cohesive design. Now, let's set the page color. Use the body selector to target the whole page. Set the background color to var BG color. The var keyword represents the variable, and in this case, it's using the BG color variable you defined earlier. This will change the background color of your website to the color you specified in the BG color variable. Please add a comment here. Next, we'll proceed to write CSS for the header. Copy the class container from your HTML and paste it into your CSS file. Set the max width property to 1350 pixels to make the navbar take a width of 1350 pixels on the screen. Add margin auto to horizontally center the navbar. Set padding 0.75px to remove padding at the top and bottom and add 75 pixels of padding on the left and right. You can see, the header has 75 pixels padding from left and right. Now, come back to HTML and copy the other class, which is Navbar, and paste it into CSS. Use display flex to enable flexbox for the navbar. Set justify content, space between to evenly distribute the elements within the navbar. Use align items, center to vertically center the content within the navbar. Now, add some padding 20 pixels from the top and bottom and left-right 0. Let's check the output. Let's style logo. Select the navbar class and then the logo class to style the logo. Increase font size to 23 pixels. And font weight to 700 to make the logo bold. The color of the logo will be the same as the text color variable, which is white. Go to HTML, copy this class right in Evi, and paste it into CSS. Set flex 1 to make the links expand and fill the available space. Align the text to the right using text align right. This places the links on the right side of the navbar. Style unordered list and list items. So, select the UL tag. And give it display inline block to make the list items appear horizontally next to each other. Set list style to none to remove the default bullet points. Now, let's style list items LI, select the list items and give them display inline block to align them horizontally. Set margin right to 20 pixels to create spacing between the list items. The position will be set to relative. Now, let's check the output to ensure everything looks good. The links will have a blue color and be underlined. So, let's fix it. To remove the underlines from the links, select the anchor tag, which is inside the NAV tag, then the UL tag, and then the LI tag. Set text decoration to none and the color will be the same as the text color variable, which is white. That's great. Our header is looking perfect. When I hover on links, its color is not changing, so let's change it on hovering. Add a hover effect to the links by copying the code and adding hover after the anchor tag. Remove the text decoration property. Change the color to the light color, which will be a different color when hovering over the links. Let's write CSS code for the hover effect to display an underline on the links. I'll add a comment to indicate this. Select the list items. And use the hover word with a colon to target the links when you hover over them. Add an after pseudo element using the after keyword. For the after pseudo element, set the width to 100% and left to 0. This makes the line extend the full width of the link. To add underlines, I can select list items with the keyword after. Use content with empty double quotes to create the line. Apply pointer events, none, so that the link remains clickable even with the line in place. The bottom will be -2px. Left 50%. And position will be absolute. Make the line width 0. And height 2px. The color of the line can be set by background color of light color. Add a smooth animation to the line using transition timing function with specific values, example cubic Bezier, 0.25, 0.8, 0.25, 1. Transition duration of 400 milliseconds. And transition property set to width and left. Now, when we hover over the links, the line will appear with a smooth animation, which looks awesome. Above, I have added the position relative property to the list items. If I were to comment it out, the animation would not function properly. Therefore, it is crucial to include this positioning property for the animation to work as intended. Now, we will create a hero section. Come back to the HTML file after the navbar. Add a comment for the hero section. Add a div element with the class name hero. This will be the section where we'll add the hero content such as headings, buttons and image. Let's add content wrapper. Inside the hero div, add another div element with the class name content. Within the content div, create another div element with the class name hero main. Inside the hero main div, create another div with the class hero text. Inside this div, add a heading element h2 with the text "Hello, I am Ian Khan." This will be a small heading. After the h2 element, add another heading element h1 with the text "Web Developer, Designer, Marketing." This will be the main large-size headline showcasing the skills. Now, add a paragraph element with some dummy text. You can use this paragraph to provide additional information or a brief introduction. Now, it's time to add hero image. After the hero text div, create another div element with the class name hero image. This hero image div will hold the hero image. To add the image, use the img tag and set the src attribute to the image's file path, for example, images/heroimg.png. Also, use the alt attribute and write nan image inside it. This provides alternative text for screen readers or when the image cannot be displayed. Check the output, we have some headings and a big image of a man. Let's style this hero section. Now, copy the hero class and paste it in CSS file. Apply the following properties. Use display flex to enable the flexbox layout. Set align items center to vertically center the elements. Use flex wrap. Set justify content space around to add spacing. Add padding bottom 2.5 rem to create some space at the bottom of the hero section. Duplicate the above code. Come back to HTML and copy this class content and paste it here. Remove the FlexWrap property and add a height of 85 VH. Remove space between, right here center. And position will be relative. Copy the above code and paste it below. Go to the HTML file and copy the hero main class. Now, go back to your CSS file and change the name of the class to hero main. Remove the height property from here. Set the gap property to 5 rem to create a 5 rem space between the image and the text. Image and headings are arranged horizontally. But the size of the image is very large, we will reduce it later. Duplicate the above code. In your HTML file, copy the hero text class. Come back to the CSS file and paste the copied class. Remove these two properties. Also, remove this and apply the flex direction column property. By adding max width 50 rem, we can provide a width to the heading or text section on the left part of our layout. Due to image size, we can't see the width of the headings part. Now, we will style the heading and paragraph elements. Let's style the H2 element. Target the H2 tag and apply specific properties. We'll set the font size to 1.4 rem. Font weight to 600. And the color to a light shade. Size and color of the H2 element are changed. After that, we'll proceed to style the H1 tag. Copy the above code and it for H1. Increase the font size to 2.8 rem. Set the font weight to 700 for a bolder appearance. And make the text color white by using the text color variable. Additionally, we'll add a line height property with a value of 1.3 to create space between lines of text. To ensure proper spacing, we'll set the margin to 15 pixels for the top and bottom, and 0 for the left and right. Following the same style for the paragraph, we will copy the code and make adjustments. Change its size, weight, and color also. To change the font style, we'll add a different font family, such as Mulish or sans serif. Remove the margin from here. The paragraph element has been updated based on the CSS styling. Next, we will proceed to style the image. To style the image is placed within the hero section, specifically inside the hero image div element. We'll apply a 20 pixel margin to create top spacing. The image will have a fixed width and height of 370 pixels. Great news! Our website is looking fantastic, and the image size is just perfect. Centered using a background position of 50%. Additionally, a 3-pixel solid white border will be added with a custom shape defined by the border radius property. The values for the top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right corners will be set to 60%, 40%, 30%, and 70%, respectively. The position will be relative. To add a soft glow effect around the image, we'll create a shadow using a blur radius of 35 pixels. The shadow will have a light purple color with an opacity of 0.67. An awesome shadow effect gracefully surrounds the image. Next, let's apply animation to the image's border. We'll use the keyframes rule and name the animation ONI123. The animation will have 3 keyframes at 0%, 50%, and 100%. We'll copy the border radius values from the original style and paste them into all 3 keyframes. However, we'll modify the values for the 50% keyframe to create a visual change in the middle of the animation. The animation will start from 0%. The animation will gradually move to the modified border radius values at 50%, and then revert to the original values at 100%. Currently, the animation is not working. To activate the animation, take the animation property in the image element and apply the ONI123. It lasts for 8 seconds and uses an ease-in-out timing function, providing a smooth looped animation with the infinite keyword. This animation gives a dynamic and eye-catching appearance to the image border. Great! I like this animation. Let's create 2 buttons in an HTML file. After a paragraph element, we'll add a div element with the class name buttons. Inside the div element, we'll have 2 button tags. The first button will have the class btn1 and will display the text download CV. The second button will have the class btn2 and will display the text contact me. Let's style these buttons. Copy this class and paste it into CSS. A margin of 20 pixels for the top and bottom. Next, we'll select the button elements and set the padding to 10 pixels for the top and bottom and 15 pixels for the left and right. The background color will be the main color, and we'll add a box shadow with 0px for the horizontal offset, 0px for the vertical offset, and 12 pixels for the blur radius using the black color, referred to as the main color. The text color will be white, and the cursor will change to a pointer. We'll also add a 2-pixel solid transparent border, making it not visible. There is no response when hovering over the button. Let's add a CSS rule to change its background color on hover. For the hover effect on the buttons, we'll apply a hover pseudo element on the button elements. When hovering over the buttons, the background will become transparent, and we'll add a 2-pixel solid border of the color purple, using the variable main color. When hovering over the buttons, the background change is too abrupt. To make it smoother, we can use the transition property in the main element. Let's set the transition duration to 0.3 seconds. Now, when we hover on the buttons, the color change will be more gradual and visually appealing. Now, let's focus on the second button and make it different from the first one. Let's add left and right margins to create spacing from the first button. The background of the second button will be transparent, and we'll apply a 2-pixel solid purple border. To create the hover effect for the second button, we'll copy the previous styles and add the hover keyword below. We'll remove the margin in the hover state, and the background color will change to the main color, while the border becomes transparent. Our buttons will have a smoother transition and a distinct style for the second button, making them visually appealing and amazing. Alright, let's add some logos at the bottom of the hero section to represent your skills, such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, and WordPress. We'll go back to the HTML file, right after the hero main div element. Here, create a div element with the class name skills. Inside this div, add a paragraph element with the text skills. After this, take another div with the class name logos. Inside this element, we'll use the ul tag. Within the ul tag, add 5 li tags, each containing an img tag with the respective paths for the logos. We'll copy the first li element and paste it 4 times, ensuring to change the image paths in the src attributes for each logo. Now, it's time to style these logos. Let's copy the skills class and paste it into the CSS file. First, reduce the size of the logos by selecting the img tag and adding a width of 35px and a height of auto. Also, set the cursor to pointer for interactivity. Copy the skills class and paste it here. To ensure that the text and logos are displayed horizontally, we'll use Display, Flex and Align Items, Center. We'll also position it absolutely to place it at the bottom of the page by bottom 0. To align it on the left side, set the left value to 0. The color will be the same as the paragraph color. The text and logos are aligned in a horizontal line. Next, we'll style the paragraph element. Select the P tag and give it a right border of 2 pixels solid with the color of the text. Give it a paragraph color. Set the font family to Mulish, the font size to 20 pixels, and the font weight to 600. To add some spacing on the right side, we'll set a margin right of 6 rem. Finally, apply a padding right of 2 rem. Next, target the ul tag inside the skills class. Use Display, Flex to align all the logos horizontally and Align Items, Center to center them vertically. To add some spacing between the logos, we'll use the gap property and set it to 3.5 rem. Remove the bullet points using list style, None. To create some space from the top, we'll apply a margin top of 12 pixels. The logos are perfectly positioned. As you can observe, this website isn't responsive for smaller devices. It's time to add some responsiveness to our website. First up, we'll make sure the hero section looks great on all devices. Then, we'll work on making the navbar responsive as well. Let's dive in. We'll use a media query to apply the necessary changes when the screen size becomes 900 pixels or less. The media query condition will be from 0 pixels to a maximum of 900 pixels, and the code inside this media query will take effect. Firstly, we'll adjust the container by giving it 0 padding for the top and bottom, and 40 pixels padding for the left and right. Once the screen size reaches 900 pixels, the container will have 40 pixels of padding on both sides. Next, we'll target the hero class and give it a height of auto and a padding top of 5 rem. This will create some space from the top of the hero section when the screen size becomes 900 pixels or less. Inside the hero section, there's a content class. Target the content class and use the CSS property flex direction column. To add some spacing between elements, we'll use the gap property and set it to 3 rem. Additionally, we'll set the height to auto and use text align center to center the contents vertically. Copy the above code and paste below. In the HTML, we have a hero main class, so let's copy this class and paste it in the CSS file. But change the flex direction to column reverse. Now, the image will appear above the headings, which looks good. However, the heading and subheading sizes are too large, so let's make them smaller. For the first heading, H2, which is inside the hero text class, set the font size to 1 rem and the font weight to 500. Similarly, copy this code for the H1 element. But set the font size to 2.4 rem and the font weight to 700. The font size of our H2 and H1 headings has been adjusted to be suitable for screens with a width of 900 pixels or less. For the paragraph element, remove the font weight property and set its size to 0.9 rem. Now, let's check the result. When the screen size is 900 pixels or less, all the text should be looking good. Finally, let's style the logos. Select the skills class and set the flex direction property to column and the position property to static. Now, let's add some space between text skills and the logos. Select the alt tag inside the skills class and set the justify content to center and add a margin top of 1.3 rem. With these adjustments, the text and logos should be styled appropriately for small devices, and the website will be responsive and visually appealing. It's time to make the navbar responsive because it's not looking good at the moment. Let's start by making the necessary changes. Add a small comment for the responsive header. First, go back to the HTML file and add 2 images after the nav element, one for the hamburger and one for the cross icon. Create a div with the class name menu icon and place an image tag inside it. Give it the class name hamburger.img. And set the src attribute to the path of the hamburger image. Hamburger width will be 25 pixels. Similarly, add the cross image with the same approach, copy this line, and change the width to 22 pixels. Change its alt value. Also, change the image path and its class name to cross.img. We have cross and hamburger images in the header. Next, copy the menu icon class from the HTML file and paste it into the CSS file. Additionally, copy another class called cross.img and leave both classes empty for now. We will use it later. Let's make the navbar responsive by using a media query with a condition of max width, 775 pixels. First, select the menu icon class and keep it empty inside the media query. Next, target the alt tag and apply the following CSS properties. Display, flex. Flex direction, column. Position, absolute. When the screen size is 900 pixels or less, our menu links are displayed vertically. For sizes greater than 900 pixels, they appear horizontally. Let's apply other properties. Top, 70 pixels. Left, 0. Background, text color, it's a white background color. Width, 100%. The menu is currently positioned behind the image. To bring it to the forefront, apply a z-index property of 1. Since the links are not visible, let's change their color. Select the anchor tags and give them a black color. Links are visible now. But these are on the right side. Let's center it and add some spacing. Now, let's style the list items. Copy it and paste it above. Apply some properties such as margin top, 5 pixels. Margin bottom, 5 pixels. Text align, center. Padding, 0. Great! The menu is looking perfect. Now, let's add some JavaScript code for the menu functionality. Go back to the HTML file and add an onClick function to the menu icon. The function name will be menu toggle. Also, add an ID to the UL tag, and the ID will be menu items. With this setup, we can now write the JavaScript code for the menu functionality to toggle its visibility when the menu icon is clicked. Before the closing body tag, we can write JavaScript. In the script tag, we can write JavaScript code. Let's start by creating a variable called menuItems. Select the ID using document.getElementById. This will get the element with the ID menuItems. We previously gave the menu element this ID, so we can copy it and paste it here. Next, we'll create another variable called hamburgerimg. Select the class using the document query selector. This will get the element with the class. Go above here, we added 2 images, so let's copy the class name hamburgerimg and paste it here. That selects the hamburgerimg class. Now, copy this line and paste it below, then change the variable name to crossAMG, along with updating the class name accordingly. To initially hide the menu, we'll set the max height style of menu items to 0px. This means our menu will not be displayed, and it will only be shown when someone clicks on the hamburger button. We should create a function that handles both the opening and closing of the menu. Write the word function to create the function. The name of the function will be menu toggle. Go to above and copy this menu toggle function name. Paste it below. Inside the function, we'll use an if statement. We can copy the code from the previous and paste it inside the if statement. But remove the semicolon. Within the if condition, we will use the double equal sign. When the screen size is 900 or less, menu appears permanently. To make the menu initially disappear, open CSS file. Set its display property to none outside the media query. Then, inside the media query, set it to display block. If the menu height is 0 or the menu is not displayed, the code inside this if statement will execute. Let's paste it again, and this time, we'll change its height to 200 pixels. However, when we click on the hamburger, it should disappear and the cross icon should appear. To achieve this, we'll set the hamburgerimg style display to none. Upon clicking the hamburger icon, the menu becomes visible, but the cross icon does not currently appear. The cross icon's display can be achieved using just a single line of code. And the display style of crossIMG to inline block. It works just for one-time click. Now, let's copy this code and paste it below for the else part. In the else part, we'll change the height back to 0 to hide the menu again. Additionally, the cross image will have a display of none, and the hamburger image will have a display of inline block. Now, it's working perfectly. But one issue, after closing the menu, you'll notice that the links remain visible. The word services is visible in the image. Now, come to the CSS file. In all, take property overflow hidden. It's all good now, no problems. The menu pops up fast. To make it open more smoothly, just add another transition of 0.7 seconds. This will give a nice smooth slide-in effect for the menu from the top. With this setup, we can check if everything is working correctly. And yes, it's working properly now. For the 775 pixel screen, we need to adjust the width and height of the hero image. Select the image tag that is inside the hero container, specifically the one inside the hero image class. Set its width to 250 pixels and height to 250 pixels. To ensure that the image smoothly reduces in size when the screen size becomes 775 pixels, we'll add a transition property. Add the transition property with a duration of 0.7 seconds and the ease in out timing function. This will make the image size reduction smooth and gradual as you decrease the size of the page. Next, let's make the buttons smaller. Select the button elements and set the padding to 5 pixels for the top and bottom, and 8 pixels for the left and right. Additionally, decrease the font size to 13 pixels. Button size decreases on screen smaller than 775 pixels. Alright, for a much smaller screen size of 500 pixels, we'll make some changes to improve the design. First, let's change the font size of the logo to 15 pixels and set the font weight to 600. Next, let's reduce the size of the hero image. The width and height of the image will be 180 pixels for 500 screen sizes. Copy the transition property from above and paste it here. Image size will decrease for small screens, for 500 or less than 500. We also need to adjust the heading H1 size. For 500 pixels, the font size should be 1.5 rem and the font weight 700. Now, copy the heading 1 code and paste it for the paragraph element. Font size for paragraph element will be 0.7 rem. With these changes, everything should be looking good for the 500 pixel screen size. However, there is still more space around the buttons that needs to be fixed. Set the margin to 0 for all sides of the buttons to reduce the extra spacing. Upon reducing the screen size, a problem arises. The hamburger icon shifts to the left, causing an imbalance in the website's layout. This issue is linked to the logos positioned at the bottom of the page. To address this, scroll upwards and duplicate the provided code. Paste this code within the final media query section. Proceed to eliminate all properties except for the gap property. Additionally, exclude the cursor, pointer declaration and set the width to 25 pixels. Maintain a gap of 1 rem between the logos. Following these adjustments, our website's appearance is notably improved, with all elements now in their correct positions. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you'll be notified when I release new videos. Let's kick off the video by building the About section. Start by creating a div element with the class name About and an identical ID. Within this div, add another div with the class name About img. Insert an img tag and set the image source to your hero image path. Now, outside the previous div, create an additional div without assigning any class. Inside this new div, make another div with the class name About Content. Inside this div, place a h2 element with the class heading and the text About Me. Following the heading, insert a p element with some dummy lorem ipsum text. Moving out of the About Content div, add another div with the class named skillContainer. Inside the skillContainer div, create a div and assign it the class skill1. Within this skill1 div, place another div with the class skill. Inside the skill div, insert one more div element with the class skillName. This is the heading, so the heading will be HTML. Within div, make another div with the class skillBar. Lastly, create another div with the class skillPer. Include an attribute per with a value of 90% and add a style attribute with a max width of 90%. Now, go ahead and duplicate this code 3 times. 1 time, 2 times, and 3 times. Make sure to change the heading names. Adjust the per attribute values. And update the max width values as needed. Excellent! We have one image and some text here. Next up, let's focus on styling. First, we will style this about class. Apply these properties. Set display to flex. Use justify content and align items, both set to center. Observe the outcome. To introduce some spacing between the image and the text, utilize the gap property with a value of 3.2 rem. Additionally, include padding of 7 rem for the top and bottom, and 15% for the left and right. The background color should be set to BG light color. The background color is changed for about part. Alright, it's time to work on styling the image. Let's target the image element and make some adjustments. We'll add a margin of 45 pixels from the top, and set the width and height to 19 rem. Now, this about section is looking good. Now, let's create a clipping effect for the background. Select the About Image class, and use the WebKit Mask Image property. Inside, use the URL function with the path to the background image. For this purpose, I prepared an image in the Image folder, which we'll use as the background for the image in the About section. Then, apply the Mask Image property with the same URL. This will give us the desired masking effect for the image. Fantastic! Moving on, let's style the About Me heading. In the HTML, we assigned a class to the heading. Simply copy that class and paste it into your CSS. Set the font size to 2.2 rem, font weight to 500, and the text color to white. To create some space below the heading, apply a margin bottom of 15 pixels. There you have it, the image and heading are now beautifully styled according to our design. Moving forward, let's enhance the styling for the paragraph element. To achieve this, select the paragraph within the About Content class. Set the font size to 0.9 rem and establish a line height of 1.3. Apply a color of Paracolor and set the font family to Mulish. With these adjustments, the image, heading, and paragraph will seamlessly complement each other. Now, on to styling the skills progress bar. To begin, add a comment to indicate this section. Head over to the HTML, copy the skillContainer class, and paste it into your CSS. Introduce some spacing by applying a margin top of 20 pixels. Following that, copy the same class and assign it a width of 100%. As we progress, let's style the skill names. Copy this class from the HTML and paste it into your CSS. Adjust the font size to 16 pixels, set the font weight to 500, and give it a white color. Apply text transform with a value of uppercase to automatically convert lowercase text into uppercase. To finalize this section, add a vertical spacing of 7 pixels both at the top and bottom. Alright, let's make the skill bar. First, copy the skill bar class and come to CSS paste here. Make it a bit taller, so set the height to 10 pixels. Use a muted color for the bar, which we can pick from the paracolor background. Round the edges by a border radius of 2 pixels. Now, we want to show the skill level as a percentage with purple color on this gray line. Copy the above code and paste it here. Copy the skill per class from HTML and replace it with this class. Keep the height the same at 10 pixels, but this time, let's make the background color purple. We're about to create a box that will appear at the end of the purple-colored line. This box will hold the skill percentage, like 90% or 60%. Here's how we'll do it step by step. First, we'll select the skill per class. Then, we'll add the word before to this class. Inside the content attribute, which is inside brackets, we'll use the word per. This is the same word we set up earlier in the HTML. To style this box nicely, we'll apply a padding of 4 pixels on top and bottom, and 6 pixels on the left and right. We'll set the background color to white. We have a box of white color containing numbers. And give it rounded corners with a border radius of 4 pixels. The font size will be 12 pixels to ensure it's easily readable. To position this box precisely, we'll make its position absolute. This allows us to control its placement. We'll then move it to the right side using the top to -35 px and right to 0 pixels. To center it horizontally, we'll use transform, translate x, 50%. The object is not visible here. To make it visible, we must introduce an additional property here, which is the position relative property. With these instructions, we'll have successfully created a clean white box at the end of the purple line, or we can show the skill percentage. Begin by copying the provided code and pasting it here. Remove the word before and replace it with after. Modify the content property, wrapping it with double quotes. Remove the padding. Adjust the width and height of the box to 10 pixels. Remove the font size property. Change the top value to -15. In the transform property, after translate x, add rotate 45 degrees to rotate the box. Great! We have made a small box under these box. Everything is looking good so far. Reduce the border radius to 2 px. However, the About section isn't responsive yet. Let's fix that. Create a media query for a maximum screen width of 900 pixels. Inside the media query, apply the flex direction property to the About class, setting it to column. This will make the image and text align vertically. Add some spacing around the About section. On a small screen, the About section is responsive now. Image and text are arranged in the column for a small screen. Now, for screens 900 pixels or less, set the About content width to 100%. Additionally, reduce the image size. Select the image element and set its width to 14 rem with a height of auto. Finally, let's test the result. With these changes, our About section will be fully responsive and adapt well to different screen sizes. Let's move ahead and work on the next section, which will be the portfolio display. In your HTML code, start by adding a comment to mark the beginning of the portfolio section. Here's a step-by-step breakdown of what you need to do. Create a div element and give it a class name of portfolio and also use the same name as its ID. inside this div, insert an h2 element with the class heading. And set its text to portfolio. Next, add another div element with the class portfolio container. This div will hold each portfolio entry. For each portfolio item, create a div with the class portfolio box. Use an img tag to display an image. Directly beneath the image, add a div with the class portfolio layer. Inside this div, insert a h4 heading to indicate the project type, such as web design. After the heading, insert a p tag to provide a short description of the project. Below the description, include an anchor tag to create a link. You can also add an icon within the anchor tag to serve as a link indicator. Let's pick the icon from the Font Awesome website. Just search here right arrow. Select this one and copy the HTML code. Paste it here. Now, you can duplicate this entire code block 5 more times. Make sure to update the image paths for each portfolio entry. Next, change the third entry. Next, fourth. Now, the fifth entry. And at the end, last. We have added 6 images with their corresponding text. Let's enhance the look of this section. Copy this class portfolio and come to CSS. First, add a comment for this section before writing the code. To begin, I'll work on styling the heading. Set text to align center. And add some spacing from the top by padding top. The heading is currently positioned at the center. Moving forward, I'll proceed to adjust the image sizes. Image is inside this portfolio box div. So, copy this class and paste in CSS. By setting both the width and height to 100%, we can ensure that the images cover the entire available space. Additionally, I'll add an effect when hovering over the images. For this, use transition with a duration of 0.5 seconds and an easing function. This is for smooth animation. Duplicate the above code. Add hover word with image. Apply the transform, scale, 1.1 property. When I hover on the image, its size increases smoothly. In your HTML, copy this class, then switch to your CSS. We're using a grid system to make your section look good on different screens without much code. Just add display, grid. For the columns, use grid template columns, use repeat function in brackets, I can use autofit. After the comma min-max, 350px, 1fr. This makes sure the columns adjust nicely and don't get too small or too big. To add some space between images, use grid gap, 30px. Check your work to see how it's coming along. That's great. Currently, images take the full width. Let's add some spacing. I can use padding with the values for all sides 3 rem, 75px, 7 rem, 75px. That makes things look nice. Let's get into styling the heading, paragraph, and icon. We'll start with the heading. Copy this class and paste it into CSS. Increase the font size to 1.8 rem and set the color to white. Simply copy and paste this code for the paragraph too, but change the font size to 1 rem. To give some spacing, add a margin of 0.3 rem from the top, 0 from the left and right, and 1 rem from the bottom. Let's update this value to 1fr. Moving on to the icon. Select the anchor tag that wraps the icon. Use display inline flex to keep it in line with the text. Align it nicely by setting justify content, center and align items, center. Increase its size with width and height set to 3.5 rem. Its background color will be white. Make it a circle by using border radius, 50%. To remove the underline, set text decoration, none. Finally, give the icon a purple color. This arrow icon is visible now, as we've just finished styling it. Let's style the portfolio box and its gradient color layer. Target the portfolio box class. Set its position to relative. For a rounded border, I can use a border radius of 6 pixels. Add a border of 1 pixel solid white color. This will create a subtle border around the images. Let's give it a slight shadow using box shadow, 005px white. Use one more property, overflow, hidden. Take a look, we've put a border around the image and added a slight shadow, giving it a nice touch. The text and arrow icon are currently not visible. Our next step involves bringing these elements to the foreground of the image and applying a purple background color. Come back to HTML and copy this class portfolio layer and paste it into CSS. Set its position to absolute. This allows you to adjust its position easily. Align it to the bottom and left by using bottom, 0 and left, 0. To cover the entire area, set width and height to 100%. Now, let's add a gradient color behind the text. First, let's create a nice background using a linear gradient with 2 colors. One color will be transparent black with an opacity of 0.1, and the second color, of course, purple. Next, we'll center the content vertically and horizontally. Use display, flex, and set justify content, center and align items, center. All the content is now centered but horizontal. Let's make it vertical. To stack the things vertically, you can use flex direction, column. To give some space on the sides, add padding to the left and right. Now, for the hover effect, we'll make the text appear smoothly from the left side. Apply transform, translate x, -100%, to the content initially. Currently, the text is disappearing. To create the effect smooth, use transition. Transform 0.5 SEs. On hover, we'll make the content come back into view. Add a hover selector for portfolio box. And set transform, translate x, 0, for the content. This will make the text slide in from the left when you hover over the image. It's a neat touch that adds to the overall design. Let's ensure our portfolio section looks great on different devices. It's not totally responsive. Let's make it fully responsive for small screens. To achieve this, we'll use a media query with a maximum width of 450 pixels. Here's what you need to do. First, go back to the code where we worked on the portfolio section. Copy this code and paste it here. Remove 350 pixels and write it 200 px. Add some padding from all sides. Our portfolio section is fully responsive for small devices. But here is the one issue. Text and icon size is too large for this screen size. Let's make it small. First, target the heading element. Its font size will be 1 rem, and the width for this will be 150 pixels. Text align center to center the heading. Copy this code and paste it below for the paragraph element. Change H4 with P. Just change one property, that is font size, to 0.6 rem. The heading and paragraph sizes are just right, but the icon is too big. We'll make it smaller by focusing on the anchor tag. We'll adjust its width and height to 1.5 rem. Now, it looks better. However, there's an issue with the paragraph not being completely centered. Let's fix that and come back to CSS. Go back up a bit and make more changes here. Remove the margin and use the text-align center property to center it properly. Now, it's centered completely. Next up, we're going to start building the services section. Let's head back to your HTML file for this. Create a new div and give it the class name service container. Assign the ID services to it. Inside this div, insert an h2 element with the class name heading and heading services. Now, let's set up the layout. Add another div with the class name service row. Within the service row div, create a new div and give it the class name service. To add an image, use the img tag and set the src attribute to the image path. Alongside the image, include a heading element with the text web design. Complete this section by adding some sample text within a paragraph element. Duplicate the entire section we just created a total of 5 times. In the second duplicated section, update the image path to edit video and change the heading to video editing. In the third section, set the image path to logo and update the heading to logo design. For the fourth section, use the image path web development and keep the heading as web development. In the fifth section, assign the image path marketing and retain the heading as marketing. In the final duplicated section, modify the image path to SEO and change the heading to SEO. Following these steps will generate a series of service sections, each with distinct images and headings. We've finished the HTML part. It's time to give services part a polished look. Copy the service container class and paste it into your CSS code. Adjust the background color to your liking. Apply padding of 7 rem for the top and bottom, and 75 px for the left and right. This will give your service section a nice cushioned appearance. Moving on, let's style the H1 heading. Set the text alignment to the center. To create some space underneath the heading, add a margin of 4 rem to the bottom. This ensures the heading stands out and looks well placed. Alright, let's make some updates. First, copy the service row class from HTML and paste it into CSS. Now, let's move up a bit. Copy these 3 lines of code again and paste them below. This is how our services section looks. Now, let's style this service class. Set the padding to 25 px for a comfortable look. Add a subtle border radius of 2 px. Adjust the font size to 14 px. Set the cursor to pointer for interactivity. Make the background transparent. Later, we will add a hover effect to it. For smooth hover, I can use this transition property with all in 0.5 seconds duration. Change the background color of each service box to white. Let's comment out the background transparent. It will not affect the result. You can notice that the image size is too large. No problem. In the service class, target the img tag and set its width to 80 px. This should make the images fit better. There's a problem with the heading being centered. Let's resolve this. Open the HTML document. I will change all the H2 headings to H3. Because, earlier, we had aligned the H2 to the center. Style the H3 element by giving it a font weight of 600. To give it some space from the bottom, add a bottom margin of 8 px. When you hover over these boxes, we'll make them change color and increase in size. To do this, apply the hover pseudoclass to the service class. Set the background color to a pale purple shade and use transform, scale, 1.1 to increase the size a bit. This creates a dynamic effect where the color and size shift as you hover. Now, let's focus on the center boxes, specifically box 2 and box 5, and change their color to purple. To achieve this, you can utilize the nth child selector on the service class. Use parentheses and specify the numbers 2 and 5. For these boxes, set the background color to an even lighter shade. The color of the middle boxes has been changed. Copy this block of code and place it here. Then, include the word hover. This change ensures that the color shifts to white when hovered over. You can see its responsiveness when I reduce the screen size. Let's make it fully responsive for small devices. Let's add a comment for this. We'll use the media query. This rule will activate when the screen is 450 pixels or less. Select the service container class and apply 7 rem of padding on the top and bottom, and 45 pixels on the left and right sides. Let's reduce the size of each box to a 450 pixel screen. Target the service row class. Move above, copy this line, and paste it below. Change 350 to 200 pixels. When the screen size is smaller, the size of the box is 200 px, which is looking good. But, a little issue to address. When the screen size becomes smaller, the images and text end up on the left side. We want them to be nicely centered. To do this, we'll use a trick on the service part. We'll tell it to put everything in the center using text align, center. This change will make the images and text line up nicely in the center on small screens. The images are too big, no worries. We can make them smaller. Just choose the ing part and use the width rule with a value of 50 pixels. Fantastic job, our services section is all set and ready to go. It works smoothly on all devices. Plus, the design looks really nice. Moving forward, let's dive into creating the contact section. Begin by crafting a div, and assign the class contact form container to it. Give this div an ID named contact as well. For the contact form heading, employ an h1 element and add a class called heading. This will help style the heading appropriately. Since we're constructing a contact form, let's make use of the form element. Within this form, you can introduce an input tag. Set its ID to name and use the placeholder text your name. It's important to set this field as required. To establish the email input, replicate the previous input tag. Modify the placeholder accordingly. Remove the ID attribute and change its type to email. The size attribute can be set to 30. Following this, include a text area tag. Assign it the ID subject. Inside the placeholder, provide a text message. To structure the total height of the text area, use style and set the height to 200 pixels. We currently have 2 inputs and 1 text area, and I understand that the appearance isn't ideal. No need to worry, we'll take care of the styling. Lastly, you'll need a submission button to send the form data. Utilize an input tag, this time with the type submit. The value can be set as send. Alright, we've finished the HTML code. To begin, copy the class contact form container and switch over to the CSS section. For aligning the entire form in the center, use text align, center. Create spacing from all sides using padding with values 0 at the top, 260px on both sides and 7 rem at the bottom. Now, let's focus on styling the heading. In HTML, change the heading H1 to H2. Align it perfectly in the center with text align, center. Add padding of 7 rem at the top and 3 rem on the bottom. Let's change this value to 260px. Moving on to the input tags, select those with the text and email types, along with the text area tag. Separate each tag selector with a comma. Apply the following styles. Font size, 15px. Font weight, 400. Display as an inline block. Width of 70% to allow proper spacing. Height of 3.2 rem. A margin of 14px at the bottom. Padding of 4px at the top, 16px on the left, and 16px on the right. Set the text color to white. Add a 2px solid border with a color defined by paracolor. Border radius of 2px. Background with a color defined by BG light color. Apply a smooth transition effect with transition, all 0.3s. Time to see the outcome. Our form inputs are all set, and now we'll focus on styling the submit button. Choose the input with the type of submit. Set its width to 70%. Now, if you scroll up a bit and copy the code that we wrote for the hero button and paste it below. Our contact section is looking good now. First, change the padding value to adjust the top spacing of this section. Let's add a hover effect on the button. Move up and copy this code. Paste it below. Add a border radius of 2px here. Currently, our form is not responsive. As for the form's responsiveness, let's copy the media query code from above. Paste it at the end. Remove all the code inside the media query and change the max width value to 900 pixels. In the contact form container class, add padding to the left and right sides, each with a value of 10 pixels. With this simple addition, our form will become responsive and adapt gracefully to different screen sizes. Go back up. Here, the incorrect class was provided. Let's change it. Reset the padding to 0 once more. The incorrect class caused our Contact Us section to lack proper spacing from both the top and bottom. Change padding bottom to 2 rem. At this point, our contact section is fully prepared and looking fantastic. Moving forward, our next task is to create a simple and small footer. Now, for the footer itself, we'll utilize the footer tag. Within this tag, insert a div with the class footer. Additionally, add a paragraph element to the mix, containing the text copyright. To include the copyright symbol, you can use the copyright character. For the final touch, introduce an anchor tag. Within this tag, you can place the text web content. The anchor tag will render this text as a link. Alright, let's move on to creating a section for social media icons. We'll begin by utilizing the unordered list tag. Assign this list a class of socials. Within this tag, employ list item tags. For each list item, use an anchor tag. Within these anchor tags, you can add font awesome icons representing various social media platforms. Start with the Facebook icon. To streamline the process, duplicate this code 4 more times. In the second list item, the Twitter icon. The third is YouTube. The fourth is the LinkedIn icon. And finally, the fifth icon of the GitHub. We have successfully added the social media icons. Moving beyond the unordered list, introduce a div with the class footer menu. Within this div, create another unordered list. Just like before, use lead tags and anchor tags. Here, we're setting up quick links for the home, about, and services sections. Let's change the name and ref values quickly. Next, we'll proceed to style this footer, copy this footer class, and paste it into the CSS. Apply these properties to the footer. Display, flex to arrange elements in a row. Justify content, space between for spacing between items. Align items, centered to align items vertically. Let's check the result. The footer is looking like this. Background, BG light color for the background color. Padding, 25px 40px to set padding. Now, let's refine the paragraph tag style. Set the font size to 14 pixels and the text color to white. Moving on to the anchor tag, apply a color defined by paracolor and a font size of 16 pixels. Ensure there's no text decoration. To add finesse to the icons, bring over the socials class from the HTML and paste it into the CSS. List style, none to remove bullet points. Display a flex. Align items, center and justify content, center for centered alignment. For list items, add a margin of 0.14px. Now, let's style the anchor tags within the list of items. Remove text decoration and set the color to white. Let's add more customization to these social media icons by selecting the eye element and applying the following properties. Font size 20px. Border radius 50% for a circular shape. Background color will be a gray color. Color, text color. Padding 0.5 rem. Text align, center. Transition, all 0.3 s in out for a smooth transition. For an engaging hover effect on icons, let's employ the hover pseudoclass on the eye tag. Set the background color to purple. The icon's color shifts when I hover over it. Moving on, we'll focus on styling the footer menu. Transfer this class to your CSS and proceed to apply the following styles. Use display, flex on the unordered list. The list is now displayed horizontally. Next, select list items by li tag. Apply padding right, 10px. For the anchor tag within the footer menu, set the color to white. Remove the underlined using text decoration none. And add a transition duration of 0.3 seconds. Enhance the user experience with a color change on hover. The text color should shift to purple. You can see the bullets are available with list items. Let's remove it. Here, just add the list style property to none. Our footer design is nearly complete, but it requires responsiveness. Implement a media query with a maximum width of 900 pixels. Within this query, modify the footer's flex direction to column. Additionally, apply a margin bottom of 25 pixels to both the paragraph tag and the social media icons. With this responsive design in place, our footer will adapt seamlessly to smaller devices. Congratulations, your website is now fully developed. Clicking on the header links leads to the respective sections, but the transition is abrupt. I can make it smoother by adjusting the behavior. In the CSS document, move to the top and add an HTML selector with the property scroll behavior, smooth. Let's test working properly or not. Yeah, it's working. If you have any inquiries, feel free to ask in the comments section. If you found this tutorial helpful, kindly like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on future videos.